Good morning. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So glad to have you with us on this Monday morning. And I am playing this music because I had the craziest dream last night.
You did.
I did. I dreamt that Tobin and I had 15 children. No. 15 babies. Not children of varying ages. 15 babies.
Erin was kicking out a litter of pups or some such.
Well, no, but only 2 of them were twins.
Yes.
And the rest were just like baby after baby. And I couldn't remember where they were. And I couldn't remember their names. And people were like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I have 15 babies.
And you were stressed.
I was really stressed. And I woke up going, oh my gosh, what was that? It was crazy.
Yes. But I told you to look on the bright side.
It's morning radio. Remember that.
Yes. Yes. And what was the bright side, Erin?
No, we're not going there.
Okay.
So 15 babies.
15 babies.
I for those of you who are wondering, I have 2 children that I gave birth to. Dos.
You know what it is? We've had so many exchange students over the years. You probably just got confused.
You know what? It must have been that. Must have been that.
So the story that you found about the rats at the police station and all the filth
that's so disgusting.
on LA streets.
Yes.
There's been a lot of discussion lately about the idea that we're headed into sort of our own version of the Dark Ages in terms of the diseases that are coming back and the wealth, the differences in wealth.
The concentration
of wealth in the hands of a few. And that these folks, these homeless people, are really indicative of the kind of rot that's going on inside of our society. So while we're walking around with our cell phones thinking that we're all that in a bag of chips and the world is great, and we hear news that the economy's booming, the reality is that it's literally collapsing underneath our feet with all these folks that are homeless. And the pictures from L.A. are just shocking. And what's weird about it is you don't even have to go to L.A. Last year I spent every weekend helping to clean up streets just like this in San Bernardino, where people just literally dump their trash out in the street, right? And just mile and mile of just rubbish and garbage, and we picked up tons of it. Tons, I mean literal tons. We had a large semi-truck there that we loaded and filled repeatedly.
Yep. With
people's garbage that they dumped out on the streets. And you would see rats and bugs and all kinds of stuff in there, and all these diseases are coming back, and
typhus and typhoid and measles.
Yeah, and someone even said the plague.
Yeah, the plague.
The plague. Yeah, that's not. Is that from this century? The plague.
I mean, it's always been with us.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much stayed in, like, the mountains.
Yeah, it's something like where you have, rats that have the fleas on them up in the mountains somewhere, and we monitor it, but, maybe 1 or 2 people might get infected a year. But now they're seeing it sort of moving into the urban areas in the cities. For the same
reason why it was happening in the Middle Ages. I mean, there's open sewage in the streets. There's open garbage and other filth in the streets, and the rats are then attracted to that, and those rats carry fleas.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Just trying to stay on top of picking up the garbage seems to be a never-ending and losing battle, and it's still not addressing the underlying causes, right? Why are there so many people that are homeless, and how do we help solve that problem? And, we've talked about this before. I mean, obviously some of it is drug problems. Some of it is mental health. And then there's a portion that are like legitimately homeless because they just can't find work and housing, and they have maybe a criminal record and some situational stuff that's going on. They don't have family support, right?
Right.
And those are probably the easiest ones to deal with. But the ones that have drug problems or mental health issues, sometimes they've made choices about that they don't want to be in housing, right?
They don't want to be indoors.
They don't want to be indoors, and we don't have good options for them anyway. The
thing that strikes me though is that our state government, their position seems to be that they, that let's cap what the landlords can charge for rent, instead of making it easier, like just making the state less expensive by cutting some of the draconian regulations and taxes that we have, and allowing more housing to be built, then you would ease the pressure on pricing.
Yeah.
It's supply and demand, guys. It's not rocket science. And it's not that landlords are being greedy. They are charging what the market will bear. And unfortunately, those at the bottom, on the bottom rungs, they're out of luck. But I think this is a government problem.
Oh, I think it definitely is as well. And in this article from the LA Times, they kind of talk about how that works up. So they called one of the councilman's office, and they have 15 council people in Los Angeles, to describe a problem on one of the streets in his area. And the people from his office basically said that issues like that are complaint driven. And if no one is called, the office might not know the problem exists. And the reporter's next line is, "What? They don't have eyes?"
Right.
Like how
do you not know this?
Yeah, and how are you not screaming at your various public departments to get out there and clean this stuff up every day? And they talk to business people who say, yeah, when we call, usually within a week, someone will come.
But that puts the onus on the business leader to, not only do they have to deal with the filth, that they have to deal with City Hall too. City Hall, what the heck? I mean, are your council people not living in the district where they were elected?
Yeah.
I mean, it should start with them and their staff.
Yeah.
It should start with, are your police officers not driving in the area? Are they not seeing it? I mean, shouldn't there be city personnel, public works personnel? Are they not seeing it? Code enforcement?
Here's the problem with the way cities
break.
are organized in terms of their various departments, right? So, a police officer drives by this stuff all the day, but he says, that's not my job. My job's to arrest the bad guys, right? And so you got all these various people who I'm sure are driving past all this stuff, and each one of them is saying, oh, someone needs to deal with that. But that's not their specific direct
How
job.
long would it take to send in an email?
I know.
I mean, seriously, how long would it take to send in an email?
Well, and people, frankly, stop calling and emailing because it doesn't get taken care of quickly. And a lot of folks do what we do, which is they just sort of take care of it on their own.
But that's not okay because we're being taxed into oblivion. Now, here's the thing. You take care of it on your own because you don't want to live in a toilet. Okay, and I understand, and you and I have both done that. You a lot more than I have, cleaning up debris. But the other side is, the city needs to step up and take care of it.
Yeah. So let me just share this. I'll bring the story closer to home. I went on a little 2-mile run yesterday, and right next to Colony Park, Aaron, near our house, someone dumped a mattress.
Really?
Dumped a mattress. It's on the sidewalk. I had to run around it. And when I got home, I had the intention of reporting it, but I got sidetracked. I had to, use the bathroom and do a couple things. And by the time I sort of got myself settled, I had forgotten to do it. And so now doing the story now, I realized, hey, I got to check this morning, see if that mattress is still there, and then contact someone to come get it.
What is wrong with people?
But who dumps a mattress?
Who dumps a mattress in a park?
Yeah. And by the way, they just upgraded the park, too. They got rid of the sand, and they put in that nice rubberized stuff for the playground. So
that's nice.
So the park is looking a little nicer, except for the mattress.
I wonder what goes through people's minds when they just dump their crap wherever.
Right?
I mean, stop it. I mean, have a little respect for yourself and the city that we live in, whatever city that is.
Yeah.
My goodness, do you clean your house like that? And what you do inside your house, as long as it's not a fire hazard, it's none of my business. But it sure as heck is our business if it's outside.
Well, and here's the thing. Going to the dump to dump your stuff is really not that expensive. It's like $8 to get in for a basic load. I mean, that's really not.
And there are free dump days in most cities.
Yes.
So hold on to it until you have a free dump day.
Yes, exactly. And the free dump days are more convenient because they're right by your house usually. They'll come to they'll park their big pickup trucks at some central location, and you just drive up and dump into their bin, and they haul it away. So you don't even have to go to the dump.
And I'm Googling it, free dump day, and I'm coming up with all these cities that do it. So there are lots and lots of cities in the Inland Empire and beyond that have free dump days. In San Bernardino, for example, it was the first one that came up on my list. There are 11 community dump days events scheduled. There were 11 in 2018. This first 2018 is what came up. So that means one a month except probably December.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the story in the LA Times about this sort of filth in the city, the story is compelling, but the pictures are really compelling because it's just overwhelming when you see how much garbage there is and how much homelessness there is. And again, they could have taken these same pictures in San Bernardino. This is not just an LA problem. This is a city problem around the nation.
I understand that homelessness is not a crime, and so they can't move people out as much as you want them to, but littering is a crime, and leaving squalor and filth on the sidewalk is a crime. Leaving human waste on the sidewalk is a crime.
Yeah, the human waste is something that's really shocking to me. A few years ago, I helped to open a closed park for the summer, and the homeless people who lived in the park, one of the things they would do, and this drove me insane, but every morning I would show up and there would be a nice fresh stool by the front door. And so before the kids could show up at the park, I had to clean up someone's crap that was there. They took a dump right by the front door. I can't get that, I just, that's what they did. Nasty.
Yeah, it is. So we need to demand more from our state, from our cities, from our counties. We need to demand more because this is not okay. We don't want medieval diseases infecting our families and our communities. So fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah. The diseases are scary.
Yes. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
With 60 years of fascinating facts, this is the man from yesterday. From May of 1982, it's hot. Moon Unit Zappa's Valley Girl, and it's full of Valley speak, as defined by the 14-year-old daughter of Frank Zappa.
Valley Girl, she's a Valley Girl, Valley Girl.
Anyway, he goes, "Are you into S&M?" I go, "Oh, right. Could you, just picture me in a leather teddy?" Yeah, right. Hurt me. I'm sure, no way.
From June of 1992, looks like the team of Bryant Gumbel and Katie Couric is beginning to take hold. The NBC Today Show has beaten rival Good Morning America on ABC in 3 of the past 4 weeks.
What is Internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer
Right.
network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
From this time in 1967, a worldwide search is on for a new James Bond. Sean Connery no longer wants the part, that according to American producer Albert Broccoli.
Bond. James Bond.
Can I do something for you, Mr. Bond?
Just a drink. A martini, shaken, not stirred.
Who are you?
My name is Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
With more at manfromyesterday.com.
Don't miss the Redlands Touch a Truck event happening Saturday, June 8th. Ever wonder what it was like to honk the horn of a fire truck? Or sit in the cab of a tractor? Well, this is your chance. For just a $5 entry fee, enjoy festivities from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Ted Runner Stadium parking lot at Redlands University. Make sure to bring the whole family for a day of fun exploring loads and loads of trucks. And, as a special offer, get 20% off with our coupon code TOUCHATRUCK19. See you there. This message brought to you by Joe Amlani State Farm Insurance.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So, speaking of places overrun with homeless people, San Bernardino City Council meetings are moving to the Feldheim Library's Bing Wong Lecture Hall.
Bing Wong?
Yes. So, a few months after pushing back the start time of its meetings, the council on Wednesday, May 29th, voted to move meetings to the spacious hall at no cost beyond initial setup, projected to be $8,900 and covered in the operating budget. The lecture hall, which is larger than the council's current meeting space, has a maximum capacity of 266 and offers ample parking. And I'm sure they'll have the police department out there kind of acting as security. At 555 West 6th Street, the Feldheim Library is less than a mile north of City Hall. San Bernardino Council meetings have started at 7 p.m. since March 20th and averaged about 5 hours in length. That's a long, long meeting.
Yeah,
Holy smokes.
So I'm actually happy about the move to Feldheim Library. I think that's a good move. I think that's a better move. It'll be more open to people, which I think is good. The 7 o'clock meeting time I thought was ridiculous because it makes it impossible for some people to show up and stay because it's just too late. I mean, these
so
meetings
5
go-
hours, that means it go until midnight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so, people who want to address their council, then that means they're getting very little sleep before they have to go to work the next day.
Yeah. Well, and I think about the city staff on those days, right?
Yep.
I mean, a bunch of them will probably just come in late that day because they know they're going to have to stay late. But still, that makes for an extremely long day. And then they're showing up the next day. You're cutting into city productivity quite a bit with meetings that are running like that. You got a lot of people that have to be there at those meetings in terms of staff.
I'm really interested to see if other cities have council meetings that are 5 hours in length.
Yeah.
If that's a normal length of time, that seems ridiculous to me.
I saw our city clerk publish the other day that the agenda for this last meeting or for this current meeting coming up is over 2,000 pages of paper. And, is saying that we should have just straight digital. We shouldn't have to have all of these paper copies because when you start adding up the number of paper copies that they have to make, there were
and the cost of the copying.
The cost of copying, but it kind of boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. And then it's not just that you have to print them, but then they have to be sort of put together, bound, and all this so that it's into a binder so somebody can then go through it.
And then it has to be mailed or delivered. So you got to pay
it.
somebody to deliver it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to see the council meetings, you got to go to the Feldheim Library. So the U.S. News and World Report is reporting that nationwide college enrollment is down. Now, I think it's because of the differences, partially because of the differences in the size of the generations.
Okay.
The millennial generation is over, and which was called the Echo Boom. There's actually more millennials than there were baby boomers. It was a big generation, and the kids entering college now are not millennials.
The bubble wrappers.
People are calling them Gen Z until they pick another name. I don't know.
I think bubble wrappers works for me. These are the kids that were coddled and bubble wrapped after September 11th, and that's who's going into college now, and they are a smaller generation. Because of the uncertainty of the September 11th attack and then the economic recession that followed, people didn't have as many kids, right? Now, those kinds of things, those stressors cause people to reassess. Do I really want to bring my kid into a world where we're in fear of terrorist attacks and where the economy is literally crashing around us?
Right.
And so this next generation is smaller.
Just like we were.
Yes.
Gen X is smaller.
Yes. And the kids in this generation were literally cocooned growing up because of the fears of their parents.
Figuratively cocooned.
No. Literally, these parents wrapped them in blankets and didn't let them go outside. Right?
Gave them video games and said, sit on the couch.
That's exactly what happened. And mom wiped their nose and wiped their butts, and these kids still haven't figured out how to do it for themselves. And they're 18 and 19 years old. No, I'm just saying.
Yikes.
But yeah, here's what I fear, Aaron, with this declining enrollment for colleges, is that colleges took out lots of big loans and sold bonds to build and do all these amazing things, right?
Yeah.
And their economic model is based on growth. How do you pay for all that stuff? You've got to have more students coming in, right?
Yeah, but they've priced themselves so bloody high that how in God's green earth do they expect kids to keep paying for it?
It's a bubble. It's a college
yes.
college bubble, and it's about to burst, I'm afraid.
Why don't you fire half of your deans?
Yeah.
And the thing that drives me crazy is they're hiring deans and hiring deans and hiring deans, and then the professors, there are a few tenured professors and there's a lot of adjuncts.
Yeah.
Which seems criminal to me.
Yeah, and these poor adjunct professors will often work at 2 or 3 different universities.
They do, and they make nothing.
And they drive, miles and miles and miles to get between jobs.
No benefits,
and these are people with advanced degrees who've worked really hard, and there's just no opportunities for them except for this sort of rat race of the adjunct professor. And the students don't benefit because they can't get the kind of office hours and support they need because their adjunct professors are constantly have to drive between different sites, right?
Yeah. So apparently this slide has been going on for 8 years. It hit Alaska, Florida, Illinois, North Dakota, Hawaii, and Kansas the hardest, all of which experience a 4 to 5% drop in enrollment. New Hampshire, on the other end of the spectrum, experienced a 10% increase in enrollment, followed by Utah, which saw a 7% uptick. The figures come as many in the higher education industry are grappling over how to navigate a new landscape in which the goods exceed the demand. The enrollment drop-off, which many see as a crisis, again, it's the significant drop in U.S. birth rate. Scholars estimate that nearly 2.3 million fewer babies were born between 2008 and 2013, which, when combined with an expansion of higher education offerings in the decades preceding that, means too many slots compared to the number of applicants. Drop your prices.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. I'm sure you have an economist somewhere on the faculty who can tell you this.
Yes, but then you have, the laws of entropy as they apply to these sorts of agencies, and that is that if you've got the money, you've got to spend it, and otherwise you'll lose it. And the way you attract people is by having bigger and better stuff. So we've got to keep spending to attract.
No.
Spending, Aaron, that's how we win.
No, drop tuition. Drop tuition. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to graduate with an undergraduate degree $80,000 to $100,000 in debt, because that's insane. It's insane.
There's an editorial cartoon here that's pretty funny, where they have a college speaker, like at the graduation, is saying, "I would love to help you, the class of 2019, to start your adult life by paying off all of your student debt, but I have to finish paying off mine first. I started a GoFundMe if you're interested." And the cartoon, the character that's speaking looks like he's an old man, like in his 70s or something.
Yes, wearing the funny hat and the robe that comes along with a PhD. Yeah, I mean, higher education is important, and it's an important investment, but is it so important that you have to mortgage your 20s and mid-30s to be able to pay for it? No, I think that's stupid. I think it's bad for our economy. I think it's bad for innovation.
Yeah.
How many people, when you think about how much debt is saddled on young people, how you cannot release this debt in any bankruptcy. You cannot, you're stuck with this debt till you're dead, or until you pay it off, whichever comes first. How many of those people who would normally be risk takers, who would be innovating, are not innovating because they just can't?
Yeah.
Because they just can't. They don't have the financial freedom to do so. And that's not okay. And the baby boomers, when you went to college, it was free or very cheap. So, it's not the same as when you were in school. It's not the same as Gen Xers when we were in school.
No, it's the world has changed dramatically, and the rules haven't changed to keep up with the way the world has changed. And so we're really harming ourselves, our society, because we've not yet sort of figured it out how to fix these kind of problems. And this one's a big one.
Indeed. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
California headline news. 14 Democratic presidential candidates spoke over the weekend at the California Democratic Party convention in San Francisco, all taking aim at President Trump. Pete Buttigieg didn't mention the president by name, but called for a new message with a new messenger.
Though he is deservedly unpopular, this president really could win again. We're not going to let that happen, are we?
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi drowned out with disapproval when she indicated it wasn't yet time to pursue President Trump's impeachment. Meanwhile, Republican Congressman Devin Nunes is joining the call to investigate the investigators, saying Attorney General William Barr is trying to rein in the Democrats and their probes into President Trump.
Their gig's up, and the Democrats are in trouble because they perpetuated this hoax on the American people.
Nunes encouraging the Department of Justice to investigate the origin of the Russia probe, cause of a hydrogen explosion at a chemical products company under investigation in Santa Clara. Jeff Scott, California News.
They say that if you want to know a person, you should walk a mile in their shoes. Same thing goes for tires. Except Firestone knows it's not just 1 mile, it's many. With the industry-leading 90-day buy and try guarantee, you can test drive our tires for 90 days. Then if you're not fully satisfied with them, we'll refund or replace them for you. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Conditions apply. See FirestoneTire.com for details.
Lawn lovers, run with us on the John Deere Z500 Series Z-Track mower. Built to mow better, faster with an Excel Deep Mower Deck. Because whether you're up against the clock or a busy day, this zero turn gets it done in almost no time at all. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Test drive a Z500 Series Z-Track mower at your John Deere dealer during the Take Your Turn sales event.
California headline news. Officials say there is nothing to fear about the 250 or so earthquakes that have hit Riverside County over the past couple of weeks. Seismology reports show the mostly low-magnitude quakes have been centered in Arupa Valley. The USGS reporting a 3.3 and 3.4 magnitude earthquake rattled the region over the weekend. Nick Shekel is a seismic analyst, and he says the large number of tremors does not necessarily signal that a large quake may be on the way. California News, I'm Jeff Scott.
It's time to take a look at our roadways. I'm Erin Brinker. In Murrieta on the 15 southbound between the 215 and Winchester Road, there's some stop-and-go traffic. Also in Murrieta on the 215 northbound from Clinton Keith Road to Scott Road. The two right lanes are closed until 7 a.m. because of a work zone. This has been your traffic report. Drive carefully, everyone. I'm Erin Brinker, and this is KCAA.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Lori. Sunny for this morning, a high in the low 80s. Mostly clear overnight with your low near 60. On Tuesday, sunshine, a high in the, well, I would say about the mid to high 80s. And then overnight Tuesday, mostly clear with your low in the low 60s. On Wednesday, more sunshine with your high in the mid 80s. I'm Lori, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM, Riverside 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 105 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Hi, I'm Phil Graney, philsgang.com. If you want the truth, then tune in my show every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can listen to this fantasy.
Wow, low unemployment, high jobs, high wages, big consumer confidence, major productivity, and no inflation.
No inflation? What are you, nuts? Stock's up 357%. Gasoline's up 46% alone since December. How about medical? Up 8%. College up 8%. Movie tickets with soda, popcorn, up 15%. Low unemployment? Not true. The 3.9% is fake. It's really 11% because of the 15 million discouraged workers they do not add in. Look, this is just some of it. High wages, that's a joke. It's 1.2%, not 3%. When you look at the withholding tax where the truth is. Join my gang, philsgang.com, and get the truth.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. 877-600-4264. 877-600-4264.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463. You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. And we, the region lost a giant this weekend.
Yeah.
Nancy Varner, who was involved with so many different organizations, philanthropic work. It's way more than we can list. The largest thing that she worked on was she was one of the founders and organizers of the Believe Walk, which is a cancer walk held in October every year in Redlands, all throughout the city of Redlands, and that's 10,000 people walking to raise money for cancer research.
Yeah.
And she lost her battle this weekend. And our condolences go out to her husband, Bruce Varner, and their entire family.
She was an amazing lady,
She was.
One of those people that you saw at so many of these different nonprofit events, who was always sort of willing to get involved and write the check or show up and help or whatever you needed, really, and I wish we had more people that were like that really looked at the needs in our cities and our communities and said, you know what, I can do something.
She was the chair of the Christmas Tree Lane event, which this radio station supports, in support of Santa Claus Incorporated. She was the chair in 1969 and 1983, and her support for Santa Claus Incorporated stayed strong for over 50 years. And she was involved with Loma Linda Children's Hospital and many others. If there was a place for her and a way for her to help out, she did.
Yeah.
And was a
life of
support to
service.
many others. Yeah, we should all be like her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm so sad that that she's gone. So pray for her family. If you're the praying type, now would be a good time.
Yeah, yeah. So, Erin, another story that we wanted to talk about today was about this charter school scam that just got broken up down in San Diego. And I say San Diego, it's actually across the state, and they even have a school in Australia.
Wow.
But the big number that's been grabbing the headlines is that it was a $50 million charter school scam. And I've actually seen numbers as high as like 67, 68 million. They said these guys scammed. And it's kind of fascinating how they did it. So here's the article. Astounding details have emerged of an alleged charter school scam that netted some $50 million in taxpayer money by falsely enrolling thousands of students in summer school. And that's according to an indictment that was obtained by the San Diego Union Tribune. The scheme focused on enrolling student athletes into summer credit recovery programs. The students didn't take any classes, but the owners of A3 Education still got money from the state on their behalf.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right. I know, total bogus scam. I mean, they're just lying about everything. A3 operates more than a dozen online charter schools, 3 of them in San Diego County. One of the company's owners is likely on the run in Australia, said the district attorney, Summer Stephan, who's part of the case. The owners of Sean McManus and Jason Schrock pushed employees to falsely enroll as many students as possible, prosecutors allege. These employees then earned bonuses for hitting certain benchmarks, according to the indictment.
Okay, well, were they real people?
Right?
I mean, how deep was the fraud?
Yeah.
And it seems to me that enrolling people online, I mean, there's a record online if somebody logs into something.
Mm-hmm.
If they visit a website,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to me that would be harder to pull off that kind of fraud than doing it with tukuses and seats.
I know, right? I don't know. This is so shocking and so brazen.
And it hurts the entire charter school industry because there are charter schools out there that they're not fraudulent.
Yeah. So one employee texted another about a dream she had. She said, "You were running around my office, drinking champagne, throwing money everywhere, yelling, 'I love bonuses.'" Right? I mean, this is...
Oh, wow.
Right. So these people were living the high life off of tax dollars that were intended to educate children, and no kids were actually going to school or getting anything out of this. Now, the article then turns to talking about the Democratic presidential candidates and their education policies, because and this kind of feeds into another story we're going to talk about. This past weekend was the Democratic State Convention for California, and California is early in the primary process this year on Super Tuesday, And so we're seeing a lot more people coming out here from the Democratic Party.
Because there are 5,000 people running for office.
Yes. And one of the big interest groups that they're courting, of course, is teachers. The teachers union has a lot of members and a lot of resources and
money.
a lot of money. And so they're all coming out with their education plans. So former Vice President Joe Biden recently said, any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. And he was actually quoting his wife, Jill Biden, and this was at a American Federation of Teachers town hall event in Houston on Tuesday. He went on to say that many countries are out-educating the United States currently, but he laid out a plan for how he would raise up teaching profession and education in the poorest parts of the country. Biden joined many other candidates in the crowded Democratic presidential nomination who have released major education proposals, and this was his first major policy proposal of the election cycle. So everyone's seems to be starting with education as their major first announcement. And as a teacher, I like that because you know how much education got talked about in President Trump's last State of the Union?
I don't think it got talked about at all.
There was a sentence.
What did he say? Do you remember?
I don't even remember, but there was a sentence about education policy, and that was it. That's like the least amount I've ever seen in a State of the Union. So Biden's plan would triple Title I money, which is the money that the federal government provides to poorer schools and school districts. It would also raise teacher pay, significantly increase the number of school nurses and counselors. And so the big thing you're hearing from all the Democrats is they're going to give a lot more money to education. Senator Bernie Sanders, same thing, wants to triple Title I funding. Senator Elizabeth Warren is getting lots of kudos for her plan. She says offered to eliminate 95% of the debt that is created from college loans that we were just talking about. She also wants to create universal child care and pre-kindergarten.
Wow, they're just Santa Claus, aren't they? Where's the money for all of this going to come from?
Well, hey, not sure on that part yet. And then Kamala Harris grabbed big headlines when she outlined hers. Her plan was to give all teachers around the country a $10,000 per year raise, and even more in some places where teacher pay is lowest. And so, this is a big part of the Democratic Party.
Okay. Hold up. I mean, that all sounds hunky-dory, but education has been the purview of the states. So the states are the ones that set the salaries for the teachers. The federal government does not pay teachers. There are no federal teachers.
No.
The K through 12 schools are all based on the whatever plan is set up in their particular state.
Yes.
In some places, it's based on local tax dollars. In other places, like California, all the money goes to Sacramento and then is doled out by Sacramento based on a whole bunch of other things, including, the types of student, whether they're low income or not, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It's fascinating. But you're right. These are big, big giveaways.
I just, it's like... and the Republicans do it too. Obviously, both of us were unhappy with President Trump's economic plan because of the out of control spending. It's like, well, I'm going to spend more. No, I'm going to spend more. No, I'm going to spend more. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? This is not your money. Stop spending my money and my children's money and my grandchildren's money. Stop it.
So both parties have basically decided that debt and deficits don't matter, and that we can just keep spending and keep spending and keep spending.
There will be a day of reckoning, guys.
Well,
there will be.
The day of reckoning, I believe we've already hit a tipping point, I think, because we're spending so much on debt, it really impinges on our ability to do the things we want to do, which is why these folks are borrowing more, because nobody wants to be the president who runs and says, hey, we're going to be cutting our spending so we can focus on paying down the debt. Nobody wants to actually do that. Nobody wants to do the hard work of running the government. They just want to be popular.
And so when it all collapses, then what?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people call this the fatal flaw of our type of government, right? That you can't, some of the hard decisions that need to be made can't be made because these guys have to run for re-election. And I wish I had an easy answer.
Well, the government requires, and our founders knew this. The government required people who were virtuous, men of God, or at least, men of God is essentially how it started. But virtuous, let's just say virtuous, and they had to be, selfless or learned. Right? They have to understand. They have to have both, as Ben Shapiro would say, they have to have both Athens and Jerusalem. Right?
Yeah.
So they have to have a grounding in the idea that there's something bigger than themselves in this world, and whatever they call it, there's something bigger than their own egos and their own decisions and their themselves. And the other thing is they have to understand. They have to be grounded in the philosophies that led to the kind of government that we have in the first place. And it seems like we don't have either anymore. We're neither learned nor virtuous.
Yeah. No,
and that's
I agree.
terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is terrifying. And we also don't have people that are sort of willing to do the right thing, even if it means that they won't be reelected.
Well, you are the one person I know who is willing to do the right thing, even if, and you weren't reelected. Like you knew that you were not going to be reelected, but you had to talk about San Bernardino screaming towards bankruptcy.
Yeah. But there needs to be more people like that, and there are just way too few of them, And I would give so much credit if we had somebody that was running for president that was willing to sort of say, hold on a second here, I'm going to stop the pandering, and we're going to have real discussions about the real issues that are plaguing our country right now.
Is John Kasich that person?
He might be. But, I see him also. I mean, they're all politicians, right?
Yeah.
And there's sort of a natural inclination to duck and cover and avoid those things. I mean, you don't get to that level in politics without being a person who's pretty good at that.
So, and every conservative just groaned when I said John Kasich.
Yeah, I know.
But what we have now is not really a conservative government. He's spending as much as any Democrat. And more.
Yeah. Just spending it on things that Republicans like.
Right, which is, that's not the point. We don't want to grow the government. We want to pull it back, the federal government. It's too big and it's too powerful. And people feel emboldened to say, no, you people need to be living this way. No, you people need to be living that way. Why don't y'all back off and let me live the way I want to live?
So here's the thing about this tripling of Title I money that Biden and Bernie and the others are all supporting for schools. Is that if the federal government starts giving that much money to schools, you know what's going to come right after that?
The state will give less.
The state will give less, and the federal government will then start making more national rules for education.
Yes.
Right?
So local control, even state control, will go out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, local control, honestly, is a myth, except for programs like LCAP.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of control, but not much.
But even LCAP, they give you choices. You can't do whatever you want. There is a very sort of limited range of approved companies and approved programs and whatever that you're allowed to choose from, and so there really isn't much diversity in what the different schools are doing.
So we need to take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the mall with a heart.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us if you want Viagra at the lowest prices. Never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-357-1583 today to save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 800-357-1583 to take your call now. Call 800-357-1583. That's 800-357-1583. Again, 800-357-1583.
Welcome to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm live right here, Monday through Friday.
Are you ready for the #1 progressive talk show host in America?
71%. of people say that the information they get from their friends and family, they take more seriously than the stuff they read in the media. Only 42% of Americans think the media is the most credible source of news. And therefore, if you're informed, if you're awake, you need to be telling your friends. You need to be talking to your friends and family.
24-time New York Times best-selling author and has nearly 6.5 million listeners nationwide.
These are crimes. These are international crimes against humanity. And I would love to see somebody held to account in this administration.
Introducing Tom Hartman on KCAA Radio, weekday afternoons starting at 2.
KCAA.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So, Tobin, you took a group of students to Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, and I'm sure that was a lot of fun, but I'm sure you wanted to blow off steam after the kids were in bed.
Yeah, I probably did, but that meant that, we got to go hang out in our hotel room and maybe watch some movies on cable or something.
Yeah, you didn't go to a strip club?
I did not.
So a Louisiana school principal, he was a principal of a private Catholic school in Port Allen, has stepped down after police in Washington, D.C. arrested him early Friday on May 31st at a strip club during a school-sponsored trip. Officers called to the club regarding an intoxicated customer refusing to pay, and they found Michael Como, principal of the Holy Family Catholic School, standing in a roadway and refusing to move. Needless to say, he's lost his job, and and you look at this guy, and he looks totally buttoned down, like super ultra conservative button down guy.
Yes. So what do you think, they got him on like a morals clause?
Well, being intoxicated, he wouldn't repay his bill. He was asked to move multiple times.
Oh.
The WAFB cited sources saying Como had a service dog with him at the strip club, which is in downtown D.C., more than a quarter-mile walk from the White House. Neither the arrest report nor Bourne's the statement mentioned a service dog. Como also resigned from his role as a reserve officer at the Brusley Police Department Friday morning, according to Chief Jonathan LaFoe. LaFoe said Como had served for the past 6 months on the force. So, So
What a
basically
mess.
drunk and disorderly.
What a mess.
What an idiot.
And I feel for the parents of those kids that are on the trip, because as the news comes in, I'm sure this guy was sort of relieved of his duties mid-trip. And
Yeah.
What do you.
Well, luckily, I mean, it's really not that far a drive from Louisiana to Washington, D.C. I mean, not like if it were, the Dakotas or California or something like that.
But still, as a parent, that's going to be nerve-wracking. Your kid's,
Yes.
far away with this guy.
Yeah. Well, and the kids are, I'm sure they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy's a total jerk and that will come out.
Right.
That he's all moralistic or whatever. And then he goes to a strip club and gets drunk and disorderly. I would guess that the hotel had a bar. He could have just watched a game on the bar, at the bar at the hotel, and probably been fine.
Yeah. Well, he probably, if he was drunk and disorderly, he probably has a drinking problem. Right? I mean, because how do you get that to that level if you're not someone who's, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss.
I'm at a loss. Well, needless to say, that they are not returning. This Holy Family School, which was founded in 1949, is not answering calls from the press.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing for them.
Well, and he's got kind of a sketchy past. Prior to his career in the Catholic school system, he taught at Waller Elementary School in Bossier City for 6 years. Seen as a rising star locally and nationally, Como was named one of 20 outstanding teachers and received the prestigious Milken Education Award, which comes with a $25,000 stipend. Now that's good.
Yeah.
The award references his gift for transforming low-achieving students into high-achieving students. He had a really great reputation. He was eventually hired in 2003 as an assistant principal to turn around the failing Prescott Middle School in Baton Rouge. Soon after, he moved on to Greenbrier Elementary, but resigned in 2006 after he was accused of not reporting concession sales and mishandling $120,000 in Hurricane Katrina recovery donations intended for instructional purposes, but that an audit said mostly went for other uses. So that's the sketchy past.
Yeah. This is the thing, too. When you have this kind of public failure in this modern internet era, this becomes his defining moment. So even though he had this great past where he won this Milliken Award and got all this money and accolades for his great teaching, now he will always forever be remembered as the guy who got arrested at the strip joint.
So the thing about it, though, I mean, anybody, we all are fallible.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that, he goes to rehab and he gets better and the community forgives him. I mean, the national media, we'll all forget. We're not going to remember who this guy is.
Yeah.
But his local community has an opportunity to show him some grace.
Yeah.
And let's hope he lives up to that grace.
Yeah. I hope so, too. And I hope they offer it to him.
Yeah. Wow. So, let's see. So people often stay in abusive relationships because there's something called trauma bonding. And this article is in the Business Insider, but it was posted by a friend of mine who is a marriage and family therapist, and she runs a counseling service here in the Redlands area. And they say it's this trauma bonding, that this psychologically abusive relationship is a roller coaster. It becomes like an addictive drug. With punishment and then intermittent reinforcement of kindness when you, quote, behave, unquote. This means the body is going through its own turmoil with high levels of the stress hormone cortisol paired with dopamine when given affection as a reward. So this back and forth, you kind of become addicted. Kind of the something else that happens is that they are so bonded that when they try to leave, they just can't. It is too painful because of this bonding that they cannot leave. And that's based on this hormonal roller coaster. I mean, it's almost like they've gone through the abuser and the abused. They've gone through some traumatic experiences together. Not almost. It is like that. So friends made during a wartime often stay friends for life.
The fascinating thing about this for me is that the person that's being abused often is not aware of the abuse, that they've convinced themselves that the abuse is just an anomaly and that the real person is the kind, loving person who loves them afterwards, right?
Right. Well, and they've convinced themselves that the abuse is their fault.
Yes.
Like if I had just been better, he wouldn't have done that.
And then what's also fascinating to me is they go on to how this affects them physically, right? And if you're not sure if you're in this kind of traumatic relationship, right, if you've had this trauma bonding, they talk about what happens to the body as you deal with this, all these hormonal changes and the highs and lows that go along with it, that they might break out in acne, they might get chest pains, they might see the development of autoimmune disorders. Their body actually begins to shut down, and they start dealing with things like chronic pain, migraines, sometimes even arthritic type pains. And so these are pretty serious conditions.
We are completely out of time, and we will talk about that. We'll probably have them on, and they can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. Have a great day, everyone.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
NBC News Radio. I'm Lisa Carter. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump receive a royal